was a second cruiser, Mogami. Two destroyers, Asashio and Arashio, suffered extensive damage. All three warships limped to Truk for repairs. Also lost were 248 carrier aircraft and 3,057 personnel, including 110 irreplaceable pilots. American losses were limited to the sinking of one carrier, USS Yorktown, one destroyer, USS Haman, 150 aircraft, and 307 personnel. Admiral William F. Bull Halsey, the aggressive commander of an aircraft carrier force in the Pacific, was hell-bent on taking the fight to the Japanese after Pearl Harbor. He directed forces that bombed Tokyo and ordered early raids on the Japanese bases on the Gilbert Islands. In October 1942, he took command of the South Pacific area built around the Solomon Islands. American forces were having difficulty dislodging the Japanese from the islands, especially the most strategically valuable Guadalcanal. The Imperial General Headquarters intended this island, with its landing field, to serve as the southern anchor of the empire. Halsey's aggressive actions and his support of the U.S. Marines and Army troops fighting there drove the Japanese out. And by December 14, 1942, the Imperial Navy staff was calling for the evacuation of all Japanese troops on the island. Ordered by President Franklin Roosevelt to evacuate his headquarters on Corregidor in Manila Bay in March 1942, General Douglas MacArthur had expected to find an Allied army awaiting him in Australia. That army did not exist. It took some time for the American soldiers to reach Australia from the United States and the Australian troops to return home from North Africa. In late August and early September 1942, MacArthur's forces, at this time predominantly Australian, beat back a Japanese invasion at Milne Bay, at the tip of New Guinea, in the first defeat of a Japanese land force during the war. As additional Allied troops arrived, MacArthur conducted dozens of amphibious landings along the northern New Guinea coast, either destroying Japanese units or isolating them and leaving them to surrender or starve in the jungles. After having defeated Japan's powerful 17th Army there, he targeted Morotai Island, just 600 miles from the large southern Philippine island of Mindanao. But even before the Morotai landings took place in September 1944, MacArthur's planners had developed details for his return to Philippine territory. The original plan called for landing troops on Mindanao, but that later changed to the more central island of Leyte, at the urging of Halsey, whose pilots reported minimal enemy activity there. As the curtain began to rise on the long-awaited invasion and liberation of the Philippines, these three men would play critical roles in its success. As military planners in Tokyo sought a miracle that would save the valuable Philippines from falling from their grasp, MacArthur was planning his return. Halsey's carrier aircraft were pounding Japanese installations on the key islands, and Nimitz was sending additional forces to bolster MacArthur's Army and Navy. Less than 2 hours after his troops landed on the beaches of the Japanese-held island of Morotai on September 15, 1944, General MacArthur waded ashore in thigh-high muddy water. The commander of the Southwest Pacific Area, SWPA, congratulated the officers and men on their successful landing. MacArthur then stepped off to one side, gazing intently in the direction of the nearest of the Philippine Islands, and declared, "They are waiting for me there. It has been a long time." It had been a long and difficult 2 years and 6 months since he had reluctantly obeyed the presidential order to abandon his trapped American and Filipino forces on the Bataan Peninsula and slip away to Australia. It was shortly after he had arrived in Australia that he issued his promise to the people of the Philippines. "I shall return." The people believed his promise. Their faith in him was almost spiritual. Believers painted his words on walls in Manila during nighttime. Resistors to the Japanese occupiers